let's get started. We are going to start on the ground, so don't feel like you've got to stand up to begin with. And today we're going to be doing camel pose. So I quite like doing camel pose with a bolster or bricks, but you might not need any of that equipment. I just like to rest my hands back on something. You could use, a good solid cushion or pillow, anything like that as well. Anything you're not comfortable doing, obviously don't do. We'll graduate things. So from a supine position, we'll lie down. Finding that Shavasana corpse pose and just checking in at the start of the class with how the body's feeling, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon. And then once you've got a comfortable back position, you may want to extend the legs out, let the toes fall out to the sides, and taking a couple of conscious breaths in and out through the nose. So we try to breathe through the nose rather than the mouth because it helps to warm the air before it reaches the lungs, and also the nose is a filter for little fine particles that we may not want to come into the lungs as well. So you may want to put your hands on your lower belly there, just below the navel. And we'll now encourage the breath into that area. So drawing the breath deep down into the lungs, letting the belly expand on that inhalation, and on the exhale, releasing the belly towards the floor. Just a few breaths like this. Once you've got that sense of expansion, certainly into the lower lungs and into the belly, perhaps allow that expansion to now move into the rib cage as well as the belly. So as I expand into the ribs, I want that sense of broadening out as well as up. And if that is feeling comfortable, perhaps just adding a little bit extra, taking the breath all the way up to the collarbones, but expanding into the belly first, then the ribs, then up to the collarbones. Last full deep breath in. And just a complete letting go on that exhale. And once that exhalation's finished, just allow the breath to settle back to what feels natural. All right, so taking the right leg up into the air, we're going to extend right towards the ceiling. We'll start with little rotations in the ankle, just circling the foot around. And then we're going to add rotations into the knee joint. So if you prefer, you can hold on to the leg to support it. And we'll go the other way. And then re-extending the leg, now circling into the hip joint. So we're going to take that leg around, nice big circles. And then we'll go back in the other direction. and releasing right leg down. So now taking left leg up, we'll start with the ankle joints, so little circles for the ankle. And then we'll go back in the other direction. And then knee joints, circling around the lower leg. And the other way. And we'll re-extend that leg, and now the whole leg, moving into the hip joint. And then we'll go the other way. Awesome, we'll bring that leg back down. Bend the knees, feet on the floor. And moving now into a rolling bridge. So we're going to have the feet about hip width. And get the feet a little closer towards the buttocks if that's comfortable. Adding the arms as well if you can. So if you prefer, you could leave the arms beside the body, but as we push down through the legs and breathe in and lift the back off the floor, if you're okay to do it, we'll take the arms overhead as well. And then as we exhale, I'm going to bring the back down, the arms back down. You could also just take the arms towards the ceiling and then back down from there if that feels better on the shoulders. So whatever range of movement is comfortable, but rolling it with the breath. And as we do this movement, can we now start to get a little bit more synchronized? So as you finish the breath, the movement should finish. As I start the breath, the movement should start. And then next time when we exhale and come back down, just a little rest for a moment. So you may have found that easy or not to get everything timed to finish and start together. Now we're going to do it a little bit differently and see if we can move within the breath. So we're actually going to start to breathe in first, then start the movement, finish the movement, and then finish the breath. So that's what I mean by movement between the breath. The breath starts and finishes, and the movement is in between that. So this requires a little bit more concentration. And if you muck it up, doesn't matter, just keep trying. You may find you have to speed your movements up to keep it within the breath or slow the breath down. We'll finish off with one more round. And then once you've made your way back to the floor, relax. And just taking those knees for a little roll, side to side. Letting go of the control of the breath now. And back to center. So we'll do a quick little hamstring stretch. We'll take that right leg up. And if you've got a strap, you could put it around the foot, or you could just hold behind the back of the leg there. And if you can draw the toes towards the face, but push the ball of the foot towards the ceiling. So it's a very active leg. And then from here, we'll take a nice deep breath in as we exhale, just lifting head and shoulders off the floor, adding a stretch into the back of the upper body there. And releasing head, shoulders back down, releasing that right leg back down. And we'll change sides. So left leg up, and then either a strap or holding on to wherever it's comfortable. And then pointing toes towards the face, but ball of the foot towards the ceiling. And then we'll take a breath in, and on the exhalation, lifting head, shoulders just off the floor, adding a little bit extra. And then releasing head back down and releasing the leg back down. Fabulous. All right, both knees in towards the chest, hands around the knees, just a nice little squeeze. And if you want to go for little rocks side to side, we'll roll ourselves all the way over and we'll come up onto hands and knees. So if you do want some extra padding, feel free to put down a blanket or a towel, and we'll come into our cat position. So we're going to be moving into, really nice, relaxed, easy, hopefully downward dog position. So we'll just set those hands up a little further in front of the body there. And the breath in, we'll be coming into our cat. We're going to add that nice little dip through the back and the gaze forwards. For the exhalation, we're going to tuck the toes and just ease it back, keeping the knees soft and lifting knees off the floor. So it's relaxed. So when we breathe in, we'll bring both knees to floor. It'll dip down through the back, look forwards. And then exhaling, lifting up, and just a gentle downward dog. So continue with that movement. And that connection of the hands firmly planted on the floor. So we'll come back to our cat position. And then this time when we go up into our downward dog, we'll hold it. So coming up nice and high with the hips, lift the heels way off the floor. Check the shoulders are able to release away from the ears. And then just start to ease back through the heels, finding that hopefully pleasant sensation of stretching the calves. Starting to straighten a little bit more into the knees if you can. And breathing through the nose into the belly. Next exhalation, we'll bring both knees back to floor and coming down to rest in your child pose. So big toes touch, either knees hip width, or you can take the knees further apart, either head on the floor or on the hands. Just trying to relax into the shoulders and the arms. And then we'll bring ourselves back up and resetting our position for our downward dog. So knees back to hip width. All right. So this time we'll be moving from our downward dog into a forward bend and making our way up towards our standing poses. So tucking the toes, inhaling, take the hips high, exhaling, easing it back. So not rushing all the way to our forward bend, but take the hands at least another hand width closer to your feet and hold it there. And if you've got to have the knees a little bit soft here, that's okay. If you can keep them straight, awesome. All right, so from this position, and feel free to readjust or have a rest whenever you need, see if you can reach the right hand across towards the left ankle. So if you've got to go a little bit shorter to do that, you can do that. You can hold the calf. And then let's switch it over left hand towards the right leg. And then releasing. Let's walk the hands in a little closer again. And start to get the weight now into the feet. Knees can be soft here. All right, take the weight a little bit more towards the heels now. Bend the knees deeper. And from here, let's place the hands on the outsides of the thighs. Lift the head so it's just a bit higher than the heart. So we're just allowing that sense of congestion in the head to move back down. And then let's just push up through the legs. Inhale, roll it all the way up. And we're standing. So if you need to readjust your camera angle for standing positions, then feel free to do that now. And from here, we'll be stepping out wide, facing the long edge of our mat. But the feet are going to be out 45 degrees. So it's at least 2 shoulder widths wide. We're coming into sort of like a wide sumo stance or putting up to goddess pose. So we've got the feet out 45. We're going to bend the knees, sit down with the buttocks, and keep the spine nice and long. So try not to stick the buttocks out behind you. Release them towards the floor. And then we'll bring the hands out in front. So from here, shoulders will stay relaxed. We're going to take a nice deep breath in, lifting the hands towards the heart center. And then we're going to exhale and extend them out as we sink down a little deeper into our goddess pose. We'll breathe it up towards the ceiling, but keeping low with the legs. Exhale down towards the heart. Okay, breathe it up towards the ceiling or the sky. Take the arms out wide as we exhale, sinking down. We're going to gather up towards the heart again. And this time pushing to the earth on the exhalation. Inhale to heart. Exhale to sky. Breathing in, gathering everything up towards the heart. Exhale to the earth, sinking down. And then breathing all the way up. We can straighten the legs as we come back up. And relax. Shake it out a little bit. Nice. We'll go back into that position with the legs. And this time we're going to add a little bit of a side bend. So if it's comfortable to, take the arms overhead, awesome. But if you prefer to keep the arms a little bit lower, then you can sort of, sweep it across that way as another option as well. All right, so feet back to 45. If you've given them a rest, and then bend those knees, sitting down with the buttocks. And then let's take the arms out wide. Inhale, take them up high if that's comfortable, or keep them low. On the exhale, leaning to the right hand side. So we're going to try and keep the hips level. So I'm not sort of straightening one leg. I'm trying to keep both legs the same. Let's breathe it back to the center. Exhale over to the left. And remember, the other option is you can keep the arms lower if you prefer. The legs hopefully working strong. Try not to straighten one leg more than the other. Inhale back to center. Exhale, let's come down, elbows onto inner thighs. Use this as a little bit of a rest. So you can have a little jiggle around if you like here. And then we'll take the hands to the floor, turn the feet out. So coming into wide-legged forward bend. If you want to have the hands a little higher on a brick, of course, you can grab those bricks. But just using this as again, a little rest and a nice stretch for our hamstrings. All right, bend the knees, turn the heels back in. Let's place the hands mid-thigh. And we're going to drop the right shoulder, turn and rotate to the left. And we're just encouraging those knees out nice and wide with a little bit of a twist here. And then we'll breathe it back to center. And exhale, dropping the left shoulder as we turn to the right. And then breathing it back to center. Coming back, hands to the heart, still with the knees bent. How are those legs going? Shoulders relaxed. And straightening up. We're going to walk the feet in, heels, toes. And give them a little shake out. So good strong work for the thighs there. And we'll just do a little quad stretch. So if you do want to use the wall or a chair or something you might have nearby for balance, grab that. But taking hold of the left foot and just having that nice little quad stretch after the sumo stances. So holding on to something with the right hand if you prefer. And then we'll release that side and going over to the other side. Always good to work the balance. But this is such an awesome stretch. All right, release, come back out, shake it off. So now we're going to take the right foot out 90 degrees. I've got my foot roughly in the middle of my mat. Big step back with the left foot. And we're heading up into warrior number 2. So I'm going to bend that front right knee. Feet are roughly in line. And I've got my hips facing the long end of the mat. So we're going to take both arms out over the feet. This is our warrior 2 position. And today we're going to do a little bit of archery. So we're going to let the hip roll with this one. So if you haven't seen this one before, feel free to watch first. I'm going to reach my left hand forwards towards my right hand. And that's an exhalation. When I breathe in, I'm going to draw the left hand back to the left shoulder as if I'm pulling back strongly on the bow, keeping the right knee still bent. And then as I exhale, imagining that arrow flying off into the distance. So that's the basic movement. We're going to grab the arrows from behind the back. So let's grab our first arrow, left hand behind the back. We take a breath in here, exhale, roll it forwards with the hips, match the hands up, loading up, pulling back as we breathe in, and then exhale, let that arrow fly. And we'll grab another one. So inhale, arm behind. Exhale, rolling forwards, loading up. Inhale, pulling back, elbows nice and high. And then exhale, let it release. We've got one more to go. Last one. Grabbing your arrow behind the back, breathe in. Exhale, forwards. Inhale, pull it back. Let it go, hold it here. And then release the arms and release the legs. So you might want to give them a little rest before we go to the other side. So let's change direction. Our left foot out. Nice long stance. Try and make sure that right foot's slightly turned in. Bend in to the left knee. And then we'll float the arms out over the feet. Shoulders try and stay relaxed. All right, let's grab the first arrow. So breathing in from arm behind the back, right arm. Exhale, load it up, lean forwards. Inhale, drawing back, elbow lifted. And then exhale, let that arrow fly off and hit the target. You can set any sort of target that you like. Let's grab another one. Breathing in. Exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, drawing back. Exhale, let it fly. We have one more to load up. So let's breathe in, grab the arrow. Fold, load up. Draw it back on the breath in. Open chest. Let it go. And release both arms. And release the legs. Walk it back in. And soften. So now we'll take that into an angle pose. If you like to use a brick for the bottom hand, feel free to set that up. You can also just rest your elbow on your thigh. So we'll take the feet back to a nice wide stance. And we're sitting down with the buttocks. I've gone just that little bit extra wider this time so that, you know, my legs are pretty warmed up now. All right, so breathing out both arms and extending down the exhale over that right leg. So you've got the choice here. You can rest your forearm on the thigh. You can rest it on a support or a brick, or you could not rest it at all and just have it dangling. The left arm, we're going to sweep it over and across, reaching out. So I'm trying to create a diagonal line from my fingertips to my back left toes. Okay, let's breathe it back up, nice and strong. Arms relaxed. We're going to pivot on the spot to do the other side. So we'll go straight into the left side. Sinking down. Inhale out both arms. And then on the exhale, extend lots and lots of length, and then either choosing the support, a brick or nothing. We're going to sweep our right arm over and across. Lift and open the chest. Check in with the breath. Is it comfortable? Is it steady? If you need to back it off is fine. Top arm will sweep down. Inhale back up and then release. All right, let's give the legs another little rest. And checking in with Tadasana. So I've got my feet roughly hip width. And just a little softness in the knees. Imagine that breath drawing up through the feet, all the way up to the crown of the head, keeping the chin parallel to the floor. So just practicing good posture. So there shouldn't hopefully be a lot of tension, but we're not collapsed. And this is our Tadasana. All right, so now we'll start to add a little bit of a twist. So why don't we'll face the short end of the mat, and you can do this with the bottom knee on the floor or the leg lifted. It's totally your choice. So if you do like to, be a little bit kinder for yourself today, then you may want to, have a blanket down for your knee for a little bit of extra softness. Okay, so we're going for a super long lunge. We're going to step the right foot forwards over that blanket if you're using a blanket. And another option is to also have a brick if you like to have a bit more space for your twisting. So you can just have a brick nearby. All right, so with this long lunge, really helps if your back foot's facing the top of the mat like your front foot is, and that you've got a bit of hip width distance, because we want to bring this left hip forwards as much as we can. So that's got to come from the back foot position. From here, front knee bent. Let's inhale up, create a little bit of space in the front body. So we have our warrior one position here. On the exhale, hands all the way to the floor. Now it's okay to lift the back heel off the ground if you like and shimmy it out a little deeper so that the front knee's over the ankle and my hips are roughly in line with my front knee. Now if you want to take it a little bit kinder, feel free to bring that left knee on the ground as a nice option to start off with. If you want to work stronger, you can stay with the back leg lifted. So gentle twist, left hand underneath the left shoulder. You can have a bit of support here, or you can just have the hand on the floor. And we're going to breathe in, lift the head, lift the chest, turn and rotate to the right. And if it's comfortable, take that right arm up. And you can either look to the top hand or just look to the side wall. And we're opening up through that left thigh, left hip. So there should be lots of space to breathe into the belly. And then we'll bring that top arm back down and facing to the floor again. So you've got that grip, just hands back to floor. If you've got the back knee on the ground, let's tuck the toes, lift the knee back off the floor into our high lunge. Just extending through the heels. So again, good calf stretch here. Nice opening up into that back leg. Now, if you want a bit more stability, you can pivot your back heel back to the floor. So we're going to push through the feet and come all the way up to stand. And then hands on the top of the pelvis there. We've still got the right foot forwards. It's nearly over on this side. So from here, let's see if we can still bring that left hip forwards, even with the back heel on the floor, if you've got that down. All right, keeping that front right knee bent over the ankle. Let's now reach the left hand forwards. So we take a breath in. As we exhale, extending out in front. And now we're going to go back to our twist. So some of you might be happy to hook the elbow to the outside of the knee. And we just bring the palms together into like a prayer position. And we're turning, we're rotating, looking to the right. So if you can't hook the knee, that's okay. Just keep the upper body a little bit lifted and keep working on that rotation. So you want to stay grounded through that back left foot. All right, release, face the floor. Inhale, push back up. We're going to give ourselves a rest. So stepping out. And as you step out and come back to your Tadasana, can you feel a difference in the legs? It should feel quite different. They've done different actions. Okay. Hopefully you recovered enough. We're going to try the left side now. So let's step left foot forwards. Nice big step. Remember to have that hip width distance. And as much as you can, turn that right foot to the top of your mat. So we'll bend into that front knee. And then sweep the arms up, create some space in the front body. On the exhale, hands to the floor. And now you've got the choice of staying here in the high lunge or dropping that back knee to the ground for the first twist. And then we'll set up the right hand underneath the shoulder, either on the brick or on the floor. We're going to inhale, lift the head, lift the chest, turn to the left, take the top arm up if that feels okay. So this is a rotation. You should be turning towards your bent knee, not away from the knee. So make sure that the left foot is forwards and the left arm is up in the air. Right hand should be on the ground. That's the twist. So left foot forwards, left arm up. All right, top arm back down. And then from here, we'll have both hands on the floor. So if you've got your back knee on the floor like I have, we're now going to lift it back up. And I've got my heel currently down on the ground. So you can either keep it lifted or pivot down. We're going to push through the legs, come all the way up now into our standing position. Front knee still bent. We're just trying to keep that right hip moving forwards. And this time we're going to take the right arm out. Nice deep breath in here. As we exhale, reaching forwards, lots of length in the body. And now bringing ourselves to face the left. So you can hook the right elbow to outside of knee, or you can stay a little higher, but we're trying to turn the upper body towards the left. And breathe. And I've got a strong extension through that right leg, reaching down through the heel. Okay, let's turn, come back to the floor. Next breath in, let's push back up through those legs, nice and strong, and stepping out. Come back to your Tadasana. And again, observe how the legs are feeling. A lot of work on the legs. They should feel like they've done some work. Then check it out. Hopefully that out feel a little bit more even. Okay, so from here, last week we did Ardha Chandrasana, so I thought it'd be nice to revisit that. We've just sort of set ourselves up for the twisted version, so let's do that one first. This is where a brick really is handy. And if you've got one, just set it up in the middle of the mat. But if you don't, you can just, use the floor. Any sort of support will do though. We'll start with right foot forwards. I'll turn around because when I twist, I want to face the camera. So with the right foot first, I've got the brick here in the center. We're going to see if we can get that left hip facing the top of the mat. We'll take the left arm out. Let's take that beautiful breath in. As we exhale, bring the left hand down onto your support or the floor and take the left leg off the ground. So this is our balance. Now you can be on the fingertips, the palm. I quite like the knuckles. That's just me. Now with the back leg lifted, we're trying to keep it in line with the hips. And if you think of squeezing the outer thighs, outer hips towards the midline of the body, that will help with your stability. So you could hold it here, or if you want to add the twist, you're going to inhale, lift the head, lift the chest a little bit more, start to rotate on the exhale and turn to your right. Keep the back left leg lifted. It's easy to drop it away. And then the extra option of taking that top arm up if it feels okay, or you can just leave it here on the hip, depending on how your shoulder feels. But we're turning the head, we're taking the gaze to the right. Hopefully we're all still breathing. You can add a smile as we hold this. It's good stretch for the outer thigh. Okay, we're going to face the floor, bring that left leg down, soft knees, as we roll it back out. Okay, so good heating, warming practice, these sorts of postures. We're going to go the other side. So I'm just switching my angle. And the left foot is now forwards. So we do want to be able to bring that right hip a little bit more to the front. We'll take the right arm out. Take a nice, beautiful breath in. Exhale, reaching forwards, hand to the floor or onto your support. Let's take the right leg off the ground. Hold it here and try to think about squeezing these outer thighs, outer hips into the midline of the body. And I'm trying to remember to keep my back right leg lifted to hip height as much as possible. Tricky. Okay, if you want to add the twist here, let's breathe in, lift the head, lift the chest, turn to the left, maybe take the left arm up if it feels okay, but if it doesn't, keep it down. Keep breathing into the belly, squeezing those outer hips, lifting that back leg. Really good work. We'll bring the top arm back, face the floor. Stepping forwards, soft knees. How about we have a little rest here in Uttanasana? So if you're comfortable to hang the head, fold the arms. If you prefer to be a little bit wider, head more in line with heart, that's fine as well. And then slowly roll it up. All the way to stand. We have one more standing pose. So Ardha Chandrasana, revisiting what we did last week. Again, a brick is really nice. I'm going to put it in the top right-hand corner of my mat, because we'll be balancing on the right leg to start off with. You can also use a chair. You can put your hand on a chair if you've got that handy in your lounge room, etc., rather than a brick. So just have the brick a little bit, or your support a little bit behind the little toe side of the foot, definitely not in front. And then from this position, we'll come back to our warrior two that we did earlier in the class. We'll place the left hand on the hip. And this time we're facing the long end of the mat. So keep your gaze, depending on how your camera's set up, maybe towards the camera or the wall in front. We'll step in a little bit with the left foot, place the right hand on that support or the floor or the chair. We're going to lift that left leg up, straighten both legs. Open the chest, keep the gaze to the front. Front is where the chest is facing. And then taking that left arm up, if you can hold your balance. And keep breathing. And if you fall out, that's okay, just get back in. I'm wobbling all over the place. All right, we're going to make our way back out. So bend the knee, release, come back to the floor. And we'll change sides. So I don't know what it's like at your place, but today it's super windy at mine. And wind always makes it a little bit tricky to balance. That's my excuse. So from here, we've got left foot now facing. I've put my brick into the left-hand corner of the mat. Soft front left knee. Right hand, we'll just keep it here on the hip to start off with. Let's take the left arm out, extending over, stepping in with the right foot, placing that hand down. So try to avoid, if you can, looking at the floor and see if you can keep your gaze fixed to a point in front of you. Straightening both legs and then perhaps taking that top arm up. And it's okay, if you fall out, just have another go. It's all good practice. Remember, you can put your hand on the chair. There's another option. Bit of tough one for the hips, this one though. And you find sometimes one side's just much easier than the other for some reason. We're going to come back down, bend the knee, release. Okay, feet a little wider than hip width, knees soft. Let's go for a nice swing. Letting all the tension go. Nice work. All right, and then back to the center. We will be making our way back down onto the ground, and we are going to be on our knees, kneeling upright. So if you want to set up something soft, then do that while you're standing, and then also perhaps readjust your cameras, because we'll be going a little lower away from the standing postures now. So I'm going to move into a forward bend from here. So just rolling forwards. If you can, fingertips just lightly touching the floor. I've got my knees soft as I fold over the thighs. And we'll take a couple of breaths, using those breaths to create a little bit of space in the back. So with the belly on the thighs, that's going to send the breath a little bit more to the back body, because it can't move so much into the front. All right, let's bring our knees down to the ground. So we'll walk forwards with the hands. And we want to end up with the feet directly behind the knee joints. And we're coming to an upright kneeling position. So this is the pose where I quite like to have a bolster, you know, to put behind. You could also use bricks on the inside or outsides of the feet. If it's a little tricky to reach towards your toe, your heels there, but you don't have to go all the way down into this anyway. We'll take it in stages. So this is a nice opening for the hip flexors, the thigh muscles, and the whole front of the body, as well as the throat. But you've got to be careful about your back. So anything that we do, if your back isn't happy, back it off. You know, stick with this first version that we're going to do, which is supporting the lower back with the hands. And from there, we're thinking of lift and length in the front body. So as I press down through my knees, I draw up through the front body. And as I exhale, I start to take the upper body back. So not a super deep back bend. We try and relax the shoulders back, and you should be able to breathe comfortably here. If you're not happy taking the gaze to the ceiling, you can always look straight ahead. So whatever the neck prefers. But we just want that sense of opening in the front. I'm trying to keep my hips over my knee joints, so I'm not leaning too far back at this point. I'm just seeing where my back is happy to bend, where my front is happy to open. All right, we're going to ease ourselves back up. So next one is half camel pose. So we're going to try and reach a hand back towards the feet. Now you can tuck the toes to make that a little bit easier. Whatever reason, when I tuck my toes, my knee joints, my new knees aren't as happy with that as when the feet are flat. So I'm going to keep my feet flat, but definitely tucking the toes and the heels gives you a bit more space. Another choice is to, you know, put a brick there and place the fingertips on the bricks. Or a bolster, which is definitely my favorite. Okay, so half camel just means one hand back to start off with. So I'm going to reach the right hand back first, either to your foot or to some support, or you can put it on your lower back. And I'm going to inhale and take that left arm up. So lift and opening. I'm still trying to keep my hips over my knees. There's a little rotation here. You should be able to breathe comfortably. And then we'll release that top left arm down. We'll come back out. And we'll go over to our left side. So reaching left hand back either to the foot or with some support. Inhale up the right arm. Try and keep the hips over the knees. Breathe into that front body. Beautiful opening here. And then we'll bring our right arm back down. Release and come back. And if your back feels like it needs a little bit of a release, you can do a little bit of hula hooping with the hips or something. Now, full camel pose is both hands back. This is quite strong. If you've got tight shoulders, having the hands wider, so that's what the bolster does. I can take my hands a little bit wider than my feet. Reaching back to both feet is a lot trickier than doing one hand back to the foot. So you need to tuck the toes, have some supports, or stay with the supported version is fine. So let's breathe, open up the front body, and then start to reach the hands back either to your feet or your support, or keep them on the lower back. And then we try and keep the hips over the knees. Gaze either ahead or to the sky. Keep some space behind the back of the neck there. Only stay as long as you're comfortable. You can always come out at any time. And then when you're ready, let's ease back out. And I know you want to come into a forward bend, but let's come into cat pose first. So walk the hands forwards. Come into your kneeling all four position. And then it's just very gentle movements, tiny, tiny little, cat-cow roll, not too much. And then we'll do sexy cat. So we're just going to circle the towel around and go the other direction. And then coming down to our child pose. So again, you've got the choice. Knees can stay hip width or knees can go a little wider. Arms can either extend or you can support your head. Whatever feels the most relaxing, most comfortable. And walking the hands back in. And then from here, just adding a little bit extra stretch to the back there. So this is called hair pose, Sasmagasana. And we're actually resting on the top of the head. All we want to do is try to reach back and hold on to the heels. But if you can't reach the heels, just holding behind the back of the legs there. If you prefer this is classed as an inversion. So if you don't want to take the head below the heart, then you can do a head support here and just think of rounding out through the spine a little bit more. Otherwise, crown of the head to the floor. It's very hard to talk in this position. So crown of the head to the floor, hands reaching back to the feet or behind the legs and just lifting the hips up a little higher. So you're hopefully feeling that stretch in the back, but it is also taking a lot of blood towards the head. So feel free to modify in this higher child pose if that feels better for you. And then easing back out, release the hips back towards the heels and coming back out of that. All right. So from here, we'll come around to sit. So if you do want to sit on a little bit of a blanket, then have that just underneath the sit bones there. So sitting in our Dandasana, legs out in front. And we'll just do a nice little easy twist. This is a good counter pose to that strong back bend we did earlier. So let's bring the right hand around behind. If you want, you can trace your thumb down the center of the spine, and then we place the hand roughly about a hand width distance away from the back there. I like to be on the fingertips and keep the elbows soft. Left hand to the outer thigh or knee, and we try and keep the head and shoulders balanced over the sit bone. So just check you're not leaning off or backwards. And then as we inhale, get some length. As we exhale, we're going to turn through the belly, turn through the ribs, shoulders, and then we take the head and the gaze around to the right. So we really think of that spine staying very tall as we try and rotate on that straight spine. Next breath in, we'll come back out. We'll transfer over to the left side. So if you want, you can trace the thumb down the spine, keep the hand relatively close, and then taking yourself into the twist from the base. Legs stay active, press them against the floor. And release. Coming back out. So moving into Paschimottanasana, but if we can, making a little bit more restive today. So it's a forward bend, and it is quite nice to sort of rest on something. So I know everyone doesn't have a bolster, but you could definitely, you know, have a couple of cushions. You could also, if you do happen to have yoga bricks, you could use yoga bricks. So if you've got a bolster, it's just sort of bringing it in and then folding over and just resting the hands wherever they can reach. If you've got a brick or two, then you can take the legs a little wider and rest the head or hands on that. And if you don't have anything, you can bend the knees and just fold forwards and release. So we just want to be nice and soft. No tension. You can close the eyes here. Focus that breath in through the nose. Everything relaxed. Observing what we're feeling in the body at this point. We just want to let go of that sense of striving for anything in the posture. We're trying to find calmness. If you've got the eyes closed, gently opening. On the next breath in, rolling yourself back and out. And hopefully you have that nice sense of relaxed. So from here, seeing that we're already in a seated position, it would be nice to do just a little bit of pranayama, breathing practice, before we go into our relaxation. So if you're happy to sit cross-legged, you can find that position, or if you prefer another one, if you want to sit in a chair, that's always a great option as well. So I thought today we would do alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana, and we direct the flow of breath with the right hand, index middle finger at the eyebrow center to stimulate that intuition, that third eye sense. Right thumb blocks the right nostril, ring finger, little finger join to block the left nostril, and it's very gentle. So we're going to take a breath in through both nostrils and then breathe out through both nostrils. At the end of the breath, block the right nostril off with the thumb. Begin to inhale through your left nostril. At the end of the inhale, close the left, release the thumb and exhale through right. Then breathe in through your right nostril. Close the right, release the left and exhale out through left. And we've done one round. So we continue in this pattern, in through left, out through right, in through right, and then out through left. And anytime that you become uncomfortable with the practice, feel free to just take some normal breaths and then see if you can come back into it. So moving with your own breath pattern, no forcing. It's nice to close the eyes in this practice to bring the focus a little bit further inwards. And you may want to visualize that breath as it moves through the nostrils, taking it up to the eyebrow center. And as you exhale, breathe it out from the eyebrow center, out through the nostrils. So creating a triangle with your breath.
So we finish by the exhalation through the left nostril. So when you next exhale out through your left, you can then release the hands back down and breathe through both nostrils. So excellent practice for calming the mind, slowing down our breathing patterns. And you can do this at any time of the day. So from here, without disturbing yourself too much, if you'd like to lie down, get comfortable for the relaxation, put something warm on if you've got that nearby. Maybe something under the knees is always nice. Either lying in Shavasana or you can even sit in a chair. So once you've got yourself comfortable on the floor, looking for stillness. So if you get the urge to move, to scratch, etc., do that now, get it out of the system, and then try to resist those little urges as we go into our relaxation. So closing the eyes. As you exhale, allow the body to relax, especially checking around the jaw and the eyes, letting any tension go there. Relaxing the neck and the shoulders, the arms, fingers. Relaxing the abdomen, the legs, the feet. And with the eyes closed, picture 5 steps leading downwards towards your own private sanctuary, taking you to a place of safety. So you're going to take that first step down as the body relaxes deeper. Moving down the second step, thinking all your thoughts can just drift away. Take the third step, and any feelings that you're aware of, just let them drift away. On the fourth step, think of the heart filling with light. And then on that 5th and final step, feel the whole body filling with that warmth and relaxation. You are now in your sanctuary, a place where you like to feel safe, secure, at peace. It can be anywhere you like, indoors or outdoors. And just observe the scenery around you. Think about what sounds might be present there, what smells. And then from your edge of the sanctuary, you find a path. And you start to follow that path. It takes you outside into the sun. Very gentle breeze blowing in the trees. And as you walk this path, you have a sense of happiness. So there's nowhere you need to go. There's nothing that you need to do or think about. And the path takes you down to a gentle river. And you notice that there is a boat tied up on the riverbank. And you walk over to it. You step inside the boat and begin to untie it from the bank. And then you notice that you are not going anywhere. And when you look down at your feet, you discover that there is a pile of rocks. A lot of these rocks look familiar, and you've been carrying them with you for a long time. And you know that the only way to move forward is to start unloading the rocks. So the first one you pick up, it feels very heavy, and it's called failure. And you struggle to lift it up and push it over the side of the boat. But you manage to drop that rock of failure into the water. So the next rock is just as heavy. This one is called loss. But you manage to push it over the side and out of the boat. And you keep picking up rocks. The next one is called never good enough. And you toss it over. You pick up judgment and let that fall off the edge of the boat down into the water. And each rock that you pick up feels a little easier as you let it go over the edge. Pick up not getting what I want and toss it out. Self-pity. Let that go out of the boat. This one might be a little heavier, self-loathing. But you managed to drop that one out of the boat and into the water. One by one, you get rid of all these rocks that you've been carrying around. And each one getting easier and easier to let go of. And then you realize that you are now flowing downstream. And having let go of all those heavy burdens of negative thoughts, you get to carry the positive ones, and it feels good. Then you find that what is left in the boat is a pillow with the words self-kindness. And then there's also a blanket called self-acceptance. So you lay your head down on the pillow of kindness and wrap yourself up in the blanket of acceptance. You just think about what you need to do to honor yourself, to feel loved, nurtured, and respected. And the boat comes to a stop against the riverbank. And you slowly climb out of the boat, taking your gifts of the blanket and the pillow with you. You find a path that will take you back to your sanctuary. And as you walk on that path, you have a sense of feeling whole and complete. Knowing that when you are kind and accept yourself, you feel happier, more peaceful. You come back to your familiar sanctuary. Back to the 5 stairs leading upwards. Walking up 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming back to the space where you were sitting or lying in your room. And conscious of the sounds that you can hear around you. Adding a little movement into the fingers and the toes. Breathing in that little bit deeper as you add more movement to the arms and the legs. And allowing yourself to extend and stretch. Move in any way that feels good to move. And when it feels right, rolling to your right hand side. Coming up to sit. So today's quote is from Gautama Buddha. He says, resolve to be tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant with the weak and wrong. Sometime in your life, you will have been all of these. So, at this point in our lives, we've got very polarizing views. It's very hard to maybe maintain that sense of tolerance, but yeah, sometimes we can be wrong, sometimes we can be right, but there's a lot of grey in between. So we'll bring the hands together. Namaste. Have an excellent rest of your week.